Let me just start by saying the power of the Black voice, the power of platforms like African Diaspora News Channel, where we have the opportunity to report on things that you don't see in mainstream media, things that are affecting our community on a regular basis, and people just don't know about. And I say all this because I had reported on a problem that I deemed crucial, and it was about the number of Ontario missing teens. Family, it blew up here in Ontario. And when I say blew up, I mean blew up. But before I get to that, let me just remind you of the report. Take a look, and then we'll talk about it further. There has been a very disturbing amount of young Black males that have gone missing in and around Ontario between October and December of this year. We have Kimani Langley. He's 16 years old, last seen on October 21st in Brampton, Ontario. We have Al Pacino McNaught. He's 25 years old, last seen in Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario on October 19th. We have Michael. They did not reveal his last name, but he's 15 years old, and it was published on November 12th that he was last seen in Whitby, Ontario. We have Aiden. He's 15 years old. He was last seen on November 7th in Ajax, Ontario. We have Trey Sean. He's 15 years old. He was last seen on November 17th in Toronto, Ontario. And then we have Malachi, 15 years old, last seen on December 1st in Toronto, Ontario. So that's 6 young Black males that have gone missing. And if you've noticed, the ages for the vast majority of them are between 15 and 16 years old. This is a problem. What are the police doing? Where are these young boys? Why are they all missing? And so many in such a short period of time. What's going on here? This is very, very disturbing. What are the police doing? So we as a community have to stand up and do what we can to help bring these boys home. This story went so far viral, millions upon millions of people viewing it. It prompted more people in the Black community creating their own reports on their social platforms, and ultimately a massive virtual meeting. And I was invited to attend. And it included police officers from the OPP, Ontario Provincial Police, the Toronto Police, and the Peel Police, as well as the mayor of Brampton, the Honorable Jean Augustine, and hundreds and hundreds of other Black community members, to the point where we were at our max with the amount of people in attendance, which was over 500. And then there were an additional 700 people that were asking to be invited. So, like I said, the power of the Black voice. Now, when I say African Diaspora News Channel is powerful, I say that because during this meeting, there was an officer by the name of Shona, and she was addressing some of the concerns that I raised during my story. I took a little audio clip of it. I'm going to play that, and then we'll discuss it further. So take a listen.
We've reviewed all the social media that's been surrounding this topic in the last 2 weeks. That includes Emma Nash's analysis and reporting on this. We wanted to address something that was really brought up by Emma, specifically asking, what are the police doing? And the Toronto Police have done quite a bit over the last 2.5, almost 3 years. And I want to share something that maybe not all of you are aware of. We went through under a very scathing review about 3 years ago. Justice Epstein took some time and reviewed 3 very specific cases. And out of that review, she recommended 151 recommendations to be implemented in the city of Toronto. Our chief at the time and our current chief now has committed to implementing all 151 recommendations. It's been a lot of work. Part of that implementation strategy was to create a team which consisted of police officers as well as community members. So every single thing that I've mentioned that we've updated or we've implemented, we've created and developed, that has been done side by side with community members with lived experiences and that represent all communities within the City of Toronto. The way we deal with missing persons in the City of Toronto is we respond to risk. So initially we complete risk responses, risk assessments. There's two of them. One's for the frontline officers as well as the supervisors review it. Not only behind the scenes, in the missing persons unit, we were able to double in size as a result of the recommendations. So we have 8 detective constables, we have 2 detectives, and we now have 4 civilian investigators. So we're watching as soon as that 911 call or that non-emergency call comes in related to a missing person, we have several different kinds of lenses on that to identify any kind of risk involved. Another thing that Emma had noted in her video was the lack of surnames and last names of the missing people. And the reason why we changed this practice about 2.5 years ago is we were involved with community members sharing their lived experiences of going missing and trying to reintegrate into society afterwards, and the bias and the judgment and the difficulties that they experienced when trying to do so. What we do is when we release a missing person's information, a news release, it is not with a surname. We don't identify their gender. We provide that picture. As soon as they're located, we retract that media release immediately. In that particular video that Emma put out, 3 of the 4 of them had been located, and located several weeks actually before that video. So it's one of those things, we want to be really available to any community agency or any partner or anybody in the community that's just interested in, is this person still missing? I want to be able to share their photo. We are happy to take a call or an email at any point in time, and would like to know more or have that discussion on how does it look, you getting involved in a particular investigation, what we would ask from you, and potentially a platform of 1.8 million people are seeing Emma's video, which is absolutely amazing.
So I'll start by saying my last name is Ansa, not Anash, but you know, the H usually throws people off. It's very typical. But just let me clear that part up and I'll get into the rest of the story. So now on this meeting, one of the things that they did clear up that I appreciate is they clarified what the word missing means when we see missing teen or missing adult or missing person. And it doesn't always mean abducted. It falls under the umbrella of many other categories. What they stressed, though, however, during this meeting that I didn't really appreciate is they continually said that these Black teens tend to run away from a bad situation or be running to a bad situation. And they made mention about drugs and, you know, broken homes and things like that. And I just felt like it was too generalized because, again, there's a very large amount of teens that were missing. So I find it hard to believe that all of this fell in under those 2 categories. Now, I will say that when this officer Shona mentioned that 3 of the people that I had mentioned in my report have been found, that is accurate. I did hear from one of the moms, and she did confirm with me that her son was home safe. There's also been talks about organ harvesting. One of the police officers confirmed that that is actually a very rare occurrence. So some things were dispelled, but there are other things that I would have liked to have seen, which is Black officers representing Black people. For me and for a lot of people that were on the call, they weren't really receiving what these officers who are the folks are saying about lived experiences of Black people and why this number of, you know, teens and young adults are missing. So in that regard, I think it would have been received and it would have been taken in better if we had some representation in law force that were Black. Shout out to David Mitchell. He's doing great things in the community. But I'm specifically speaking about the police officers. There wasn't one Black police officer on this virtual call. You also heard this officer, Shona, mention that I had asked, what is the police doing? And she provided a fairly detailed description of what, they're doing. One of the other things she also offered is her direct contact information so that going forward, if me or other people in media want to find out more information about what's going on, that we can contact them directly. Her, messaging was that they are open to providing information. I'm holding you to that, Shona. I will be reaching out. I really appreciate that they have recognized platforms like African Diaspora News and saying that, our reach is amazing, with 1.8 million and counting people that had eyes on a situation like this. And I firmly believe that as a result of this really did catapult this meeting and cause them to have to come together and really redeem themselves and explain themselves and educate us on what really goes on, sort of the ins and outs in the police force. They also mentioned that they have created a unit that's dedicated specifically to missing people. Now, I will say this: none of what I reported made it to mainstream media. And this was one of the questions. And I did see some comments where people were saying, I didn't hear about it until I saw it on the African Diaspora News Channel. As a result of this meeting, however, it then made it to mainstream media. So take a look at the report that was done on mainstream media about this virtual meeting.
Viral videos sound the alarm on several missing Black boys across the GTA, acting as a catalyst for change. Fear and confusion can be seen in the comment section of posts like this one and this one.
This is a problem. What are the police doing? Where are these young boys? Why are they all missing?
Taking social media by storm, leaving the community with more questions than answers, petitioning for action. Over 500 people joined the online call, with another 400 sitting in the virtual waiting room.
And the voices of the community spoke loud, which compelled us to create an atmosphere and a platform to bring the community together.
Brampton's Black Empowerment Unit invited representatives from several police forces across the GTA, dignitaries, and community leaders to speak with concerned residents.
The fact this was happening, and you didn't see it in any newspaper or any TV station, and yet it was terrifying the community.
But psychotherapist Marcy Gray says there's more to the story that we need to dive into, which she says is that all of our systems are failing our Black youth, whether it's the mental health, healthcare, criminal justice, or the education system.
We have these statistics that tell us that they are having all these challenges in all these systems. And so now it's a matter of looking at each of these systems and figuring out, how do we now make things better for them?
Isn't it fascinating that it had to come to this before it actually made it to mainstream media? But I do think that this is a very, very valuable lesson to say how powerful, again, the Black voice is, the Black community is, how loud we are, how much ruckus and how many tables we can turn when we want answers. So we will continue to report on things that aren't in the mainstream media. We will continue to expose things that we feel are against our community. And I will again shout out African Diaspora News Channel, shout out to Phil Scott and my esteemed colleagues, because our Black lives matter. And we will make sure that the world knows. Let me know what you all think about this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this content. Also, don't forget to download the African Diaspora News app. You'll have access to content you won't see even here or anywhere else. So download that app. Also subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Black Experience with Emma Ansa. Until next time, please be safe, everyone.